Really? They redesigned these and thought, yeah, let's leave this freaking thing. Unbelievable. It has been literal years since I've finished an Apple iPhone keynote and thought, maybe the base model is the one to get, but I am so glad that that is the case with the iPhone 16. But before that, we gotta just talk about the Apple Watch and the AirPods. There was only one new Apple Watch today, the Series 10, because ye old Watch Ultra Series 2 sticks around for a whole nother year. However, with the addition of a new color, matte black. Look, I ain't a black watch guy at all, but I do appreciate they're offering every band with matching hardware regardless of watch body color. I'm also really lusting after the new titanium MLAs loop. This is one of my favorite bracelet styles from traditional watchmaking, and Apple's $200 price point is actually shockingly fair for a titanium bracelet of this complexity and this quality. But also, come on, I ain't spending $200 on that. Maybe though. We also failed to see an update to the Apple Watch SE at all. This is highly disappointing considering that it's one of the best-selling but also one of the most underwhelming watches in Apple's entire lineup. The rumor of a $200 plastic colorful body to save weight and cost was really exciting to me, and I'm kind of bummed we're stuck with this stinker for yet another year. Strangely, while it wasn't basically given any keynote airtime, it does show as available for pre-order on apple.com, so I thought, and I put my investigative cap on, and yeah, no, it's the same watch and it's got the same price, but it does have a different default band color. Big whoop. All right, so let's talk about that Series 10 update, yeah? Mr. Cook introed it as having a beautiful new design, and then they showed us this unveil video that made it look almost exactly the same because, well, it is almost exactly the same. This is not the long-rumored squared-edge design with magnetic band clamps. No. There's a marginally larger display and a slightly thinner case. Starting with the display, just watch this bit.
That's why, for Series 10, we developed the largest and most advanced display ever for Apple Watch. It's the biggest wearable display we've ever built, even slightly bigger than Apple Watch Ultra.
Okay, pause. What is that? That is a single pixel difference. The reason they never showed this new screen side by side with the Series 9 is, well, because of this. It looks almost exactly the same in size, but do you know what? That's fine. That doesn't matter. That's okay, because the display itself got a very nice update, which I'm excited about because it aims to fix my biggest annoyance with the Watch Ultra 2, and that is off-axis viewing. Now, what Apple calls wide-angle OLED is almost certainly just a micro-lens array. Now, I shouldn't say just, because this is a newish technology that has made its way into a few specialty OLEDs, but is not mainstream. Basically, thousands of microscopic lenses are placed on top of each individual pixel. Not one lens per pixel, thousands of lenses per pixel. Super cool. Which not only help increase light throughput, but also the angle at which the light is viewable. Now, LG has been at the forefront of this MLA tech, which they call Meta. Why did they pick that name? And it just so happens to be that LG is the primary display supplier for the Apple Watch. So Apple rebranding MLA Tech or Meta as their own ultra-wide OLED seems to be the most likely to me. The end result is something that is going to be pretty cool. Apple claims a 40% greater brightness when viewing from angles, which allows you to actually lower the total power consumption because you don't need to turn the display brightness up as high. And Apple coincidentally cites this as the very reason, this improved efficiency, for which the Series 10 can refresh its display once per second rather than once per minute when sleeping. So you'll get an actual functional seconds hand when the watch is asleep. That's pretty cool. Now, I suspect that part of this might also be attributable to the S10 SiP. It's a new system on chip, system in package, whatever the heck they decide to call it, which the press release heavily implies saw a process shrink. They didn't say that, but it's implied. I guess jury's still out on that one because the S9 that just came out last year, I guess, saw a shrink to 4 nanometers just last year. So is it possible it's already on 3 nanometer? I don't know. The watch always lags a little bit behind, but in any case, improved efficiency. Woo. Now, the entire internal componentry has been flattened to reduce the Z-depth of the watch by a little over a millimeter, making it 10% thinner. Ooh. Now, this will likely not be noticeable in the real world, but I do think that it's a step in the right direction to put the band lugs closer to your skin. That's what you want in a watch. And as part of this redesign, well, the speaker has been given the ability to play media rather than just voice calls like it was able to do prior. It's sure to sound awful, but it could be handy in a pinch. Now, the watch still comes in aluminum. However, stainless steel has been replaced in favor of polished titanium. And I love this because titanium is famously difficult to polish. Just ask Seiko about that. But it wears its scratches a lot better than stainless steel. So it should look superb over time. I really want one. And I mean, the gold, it's just objectively gorgeous. This is undoubtedly the most handsome Apple Watch since the original edition models released more than a decade ago. Well, I guess almost a decade ago. I'm a huge fan of the Watch Series 10 in titanium, and I really want to ditch my Ultra 2 for one, but I must resist. This is fine. Last small updates. It can now charge twice as quickly, up to 80% in half an hour, which is great for a device that proclaims itself to be a sleep tracker. And while sleeping, well, the existing sensor suite, so that means that the Ultra 2 2, yes, will be able to notify you of potential sleep apnea. Now, I don't know how useful this is in the long term, but maybe once as a, hey, you should probably go get that checked up on, since Apple says that over 80% of people with sleep apnea, probably like me, remain undiagnosed. I'm still waiting and warming up to the idea of a CPAP at age 31. Maybe once I'm a dad. AirPods saw an update across the entire lineup, if not in hardware, in software. Starting with the base model AirPods, the AirPods 3, those are gone. The shape has been entirely redesigned to fit a greater number of heads, or so Apple says. And that's something that I really hope is true. It's massively needed because I've got a lot of friends that are still rocking AirPods and AirPods 2 for that very reason. The 3s just didn't fit and they don't like the Pros or the Pro Maxes. Look, the headphones inherit the H2 chip on this new version. And that means that basically every AirPods Pro feature you would expect that comes along with them is also available on the new AirPods 4. So you've got improved range and call quality, you've got adaptive EQ, there's AAC ELD for reduced FaceTime audio latency, and there's now the force sensor from the AirPods Pro instead of having to blast tap your eardrum, which I hated. Sadly, it does not support touch, and therefore volume control, that remains a Pro feature, which is super stupid. I mean, if you're gonna put the force sensor on there, just put the little touch zone, okay? Here's where things get weird. There are two new AirPods 4 models. There's a $130 model that replaces the outgoing AirPods 3, and there is a new $180 model, which implements active noise canceling. And this is super interesting to me. I can't wait to try them out because given that they don't create a, well, frankly, as good of a passive seal, I suspect they're not going to be very good at all for eliminating people talking or dogs barking, but they should do a nice job at blocking out airplane, fan, and traffic noises, stuff that's consistent. Now that $50 extra doesn't just bring you active noise canceling, but it also brings you a case with wireless charging and a speaker for Find My, just like the AirPods Pro 2. And good thing considering their price tag. But you see, I'm a bit bummed out that those features are absent from the base model, especially at $130. I would have preferred a sub $100 price point or $130 with every feature saved for ANC, not this weird like partial product fragmentation that you don't really know because they're both AirPods 4. It's confusing, but get subscribed for my review because my pairs are ordered and already on their way. Then, Apple spent all of 15 seconds on the long-forgotten AirPods Max. They now have USB-C, and they come in new colors. That's it. No H2 chip, even though it's in the $130 AirPods 4. There's no adaptive audio. There's no modern Find My support. There's no improved ergonomics. There is still generations-old active noise canceling, which isn't very good anymore. There's no improvements to sound quality. There's no new generation transparency mode. There's still no power button. There's still the awful case. There's still likely condensate issues. The list goes on. Oh, and there's still $550. The fact that Apple didn't change literally anything other than the plug by which it receives power is an insulting slap to the face, and literally nobody should buy these. I am so pissed off. This is worse than no update at all. And, well, I guess the colors, they're kind of cool. They look like springtime. But guess what, Apple? It's fall! But AirPods Pro are a product that Apple care about. They got quite a bit of time in the keynote. While they didn't receive any new hardware updates, there are software changes forthcoming. For one, there will be enhanced hearing protection for when you're using them, say, at a concert, something that I've seen a lot of people wearing at concerts lately. That's great. And Apple is in the process of getting official FDA approval to use the AirPods, AirPods Pro that is, as clinical grade hearing aids. This is so amazing. And to have such high quality hearing aid functionality for $200 is exceptional. It is truly market disruptive. I love this. This is superb. And I love today's sponsor, ESR, and their lineup of MagSafe and Qi 2 compatible charging accessories. First up, the ESR Qi 2 MagSafe battery pack with kickstand is ultra compact and slim, but what makes it most impressive to me is consistent 15-watt fast charging for the iPhone. Unlike a lot of MagSafe battery packs which get blazingly hot to the point of heat soaking the device, onboard sensors and output algorithms ensure that the power bank stays under 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 30 degrees less than the standard. Even better, a kickstand helps prop up your device for both portrait and landscape viewing. And the powerful magnet array ensures that your phone stays attached, and it probably comes in your favorite color too. Next up is ESR's 3-in-1 MagSafe charger, which integrates 15-watt MagSafe with active cooling to maintain that charge curve throughout the charge duration. There's an Apple-certified Apple Watch fast charger, which is literally 4 times faster than other third-party chargers, and it has a wireless AirPods charger. It looks sleek, it is built with premium materials, and it won't break the bank. Last, if you need some juice in the car, ESR's MagSafe car charger doesn't thermally throttle, is easily mounted, and works a treat. Use my link below to save on your ESR accessories today. Seriously, these are an unbelievably great value, and I think you'll love them. And that brings us to the iPhone 16, another thing that I love and really did not expect to. You see, the last couple of years have been weird. The base iPhone has gotten year-old silicon, hasn't been receiving the latest and greatest hardware features like the cameras or the action buttons, and has felt intentionally kneecapped so as not to invalidate the Pro lineup's existence, rather than cost-saving to hit some magically lower price target. Well, this year's iPhone fixes almost all of those past discretions? What's the word? Discrepancy? No. Misgivings. Okay. It receives brand new silicon with an improved cooling solution. It inherits not just the action button from last year, but also the brand new camera button, which we'll discuss shortly. It brings on board last year's amazing Pro iPhone camera, the 48 megapixel wide shooter, and it gets displays capable of the same low luminance and color space that the Pro phones are capable of in the dark, a single nit. Oh, and there's Wi-Fi 7. Okay, so let's start at the top with the silicon. I've been saying for, a year that the iPhone 16 would never get the A17 because it was built on TSMC's first-gen 3nm N3B process that had really low yields, super high prices, and less than stellar performance. It was a bum process. The new A18, just like the M4 from earlier this year, runs TSMC's second-gen N3E process, and it's great. Apple claims a 30% performance jump over the iPhone 15's 5nm SoC in the CPU department, a 40% faster GPU, which, yes, enables you to play those 7 AAA games published by Konami and Ubisoft. I hope you like Resident Evil. And there's an all-new 16-core neural engine for AI with 20% greater memory bandwidth, all while using about 30% less power. These are huge generational improvements, especially in the power department. And further bolstering future Apple Intelligence performance is 8 gigs of memory across all iPhone models, even at the entry price, which was only 6 gigs last gen. That is superb. Also great, well, the new camera control button. Okay, so this isn't really actually a button. It is a fixed piece of sapphire, but with force detection and haptic feedback that performs a ton of different functions. So at its base level, push button to open camera and push button to take picture. Whoopee! But there's also a strange feature where you can push the button with different levels of pressure to achieve different actions. This is so cool. It's like touch, but 3-dimensional. Wow, wouldn't it be cool if they put something like this on the screen? Anyways, so a light press opens up a control tab where you can slide back and forth to zoom, or you can double tap and slide to move through a bunch of different camera settings. And that main camera, that thing is all new. It gets last year's Pro camera, but with a brand new 2nd-generation image sensor that supports faster readout speeds. In addition to, well, all of last year's software camera features that were previously only available on the Pro phones. So Dolby Vision recording and spatial videos, and now photos as well, thanks to the new very handsome camera layout. There is macro photography support, a 2x digital telephoto, and more. Now there are a couple of other cool camera features that Apple demoed in the Pro portion of the keynote, but make their way to the base iPhone as well too. There's wind noise reduction for video this year. There's also selective voice isolation mixing in video. This is pretty cool. You can choose how much of the ambient background you want to bleed through. And there is a fully redesigned photographic style experience. Now, I never really used these photo styles previously because you had to do them in camera when you were taking the photo, and most of them just felt kind of like cheap Instagram filters. They were too aggressive and moody. Well, now you'll be able to do skin tone rendering and apply photogenic styles in post, thanks to the fact that it's saving tone maps. And you'll be able to micro adjust the tone and color balance levels simultaneously with this cool little pad slider to exactly where you want. For me, this will all but eliminate the need to use third-party photo apps. I'm really excited for this. Now, the last of the major hardware changes is battery life, which is said to be noticeably improved from prior generations, thanks to, yes, a more efficient SoC, yes, improved cooling, and yes, if rumors are to be believed, a slightly bigger battery. We'll find that out once there's a teardown. But really, this is a super solid, feature-complete hardware year for the base model iPhone. For the last few years, I have told people to just shop the closeout prices on the outgoing Pro models when the new ones come out. But I don't fault anybody for going with the fabulous colors that are available on the base model iPhone this year. And save for the stupid lack of a high frame rate display, which, yeah, I know, even though normies don't care about it and that 60 Hertz is fine for most people, it should be there. There are really very few things to complain about. This is the year to buy a base model iPhone. But it's probably not the year to buy a Pro iPhone, which is very much an iPhone 15s. You know, I kind of missed the S naming because it kept expectations low. There's a new color, it's brown, but Apple ran it through their Apple Intelligence LLM and came up with Desert Titanium.
Awful.
Now the new Pro phone also gets a new Pro SoC, the A18 Pro, which validates also all of my predictions that I made many months ago that they would maintain this distinction. There is an extra GPU core over the A18 and the A18 Pro. I didn't really expect that, but what I did expect is stuff that they were never going to bring over to the standard iPhone, like the special sectors for display control, especially for the always-on display and for high refresh rate. You've got the USB 3 controller on there, which is still only a Pro phone exclusive. You've got the hardware engines for ProRes video recording and encoding. There's a special ISP for processing ProRAW and ACES. That's about it on the SoC, but that stuff has stayed because, well, those are Pro phone features. And it's fine. I mean, year-over-year performance improvements on the SoC are going to be obviously smaller on this phone than on the base iPhone, but the efficiency gains should still be really nice. I mean, battery life has not been great on my iPhone 15 Pro Max, and a new cooling system that uses a graphite sheet for thermal transfer should help sustain performance for longer, because I've also had that issue on my iPhone 15 Pro Max, though it does not appear, unfortunately, that this is a vapor chamber as rumored, which is a real shame. Maybe next year. Other than that, I mean, the Pro iPhones did get a new 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera this year, which could be interesting. I have used my 5x telephoto on the iPhone 15 Pro Max a lot this year, like a lot. And I've used my ultra-wide like twice because it sucks. And so the idea that there might be an improvement to this camera is frankly compelling, and particularly an improvement to the macro mode, which has been really bad for quite a long time. Yeah, that's compelling. So stay tuned to find out what I think about that in the near future. Now, the SoC also permits for a couple of fun things in the video department, like 4K 120 frames per second slow motion with retiming in post, which is neat, though ultimately of questionable use. And well, that's kind of it. And if it seems like I'm a little tepid on these phones, it's because I am. I mean, every other feature is brought over from either the 15 Pro Max or imported as a new feature from the base model iPhone 16. It's a really minor year for updates on the Pro phone line. Really, the two things that keep me there are the 5x telephoto and, well, that fancy pants LTPO 120 Hertz display. That's not even that fancy pants anymore. It should just be on all the iPhones, Apple. And that brings us to the thing we have to talk about last. The looming Apple Intelligence launch. Just like at WWDC, so much of this keynote was the future promise of what Apple Intelligence will enable, not just from text generation and summarization stuff that's been in the betas for a while, and not even the forthcoming image generation stuff, which I don't really care about even a little bit. No, it's about this continued pie-in-the-sky abstracted example of Siri accessing your personal context. So being able to, find that appointment that someone texted you about, or to play a new album that's mentioned on an article you're reading that's on screen currently, or, not even to mention today's demo, which was pretty crazy of like, oh, send Eric all the pictures that I took at the barbecue on Saturday. Yeah, those are the things that have so much promise, yet so little tangible framework that right now, still, even though they're allegedly coming soon, just seem too good to be true. Especially considering that no other company has even cracked this code yet. And Apple then took things a step further in the same vein as Humane or Rabbit with visual intelligence. So if you hold the new camera control button down, there's a viewfinder that opens up, and it allows you to quickly snap a picture and have Siri return context, like if you take a picture of a restaurant to provide reviews or hours of that restaurant. Or you could take a picture of a concert poster and have it added to your calendar, or to identify the breed of a dog. More pies and more skies. I guess we're not really going to know how any of this stuff works until it launches eventually. And that's the question is when does this launch? I mean, Apple announced certain features will be available in beta next month, but you can be sure that it's not going to be any of this stuff. It'll probably be the image generation shenanigans. Now, visual intelligence, that was said to be shipping, quote, later this year. And personal context has only ever been referred to as abstractly as like something that someday in the future will be able to do this. And that's fine. I get it. This AI stuff is new. Rome wasn't built in a day. But so much of the promise of the iPhone 16 and Apple Intelligence as a platform isn't likely to ship in material substance until we get to the point where we ask ourselves, is this really even an iPhone 16 feature at all? And perhaps it doesn't need to be. I mean, these phones are good enough in their own right to upgrade from a multi-year-old iPhone regardless of Apple Intelligence features, but it's just strange to see something so ethereal and abstract from a company that is known for creating and shipping concrete features. I hope I'm wrong. What do you think? I'm just so on it. Let me know in the comments down below, but most importantly, and as always, stay snazzy.